So you find me here today with this thing in my hand. This is called a mate. And it's, for me at least, it's a symbol of who we are from where I come from. I come from Argentina. I've spoken about this a million times to a lot of people. And we drink it. It's sort of like a green tea, very, 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 very bitter. And we drink it, what we call, sort of a friend of mine at work used to say that is sort of like a forever tea. Because we use this thing down here and we just pour water into it. And we drink it. And it's a symbol of not only who we are, but also the things that we share, because we use only one of these and we share it among a lot of people. And there's a number that we get. If it is 20 people, we use 2 or something like that. But usually it's 1 and we pass it along. The reason I tell you this sort of interesting but boring at the same time story is that the person that joins me today, it's a really good friend of mine, also from Argentina, also someone who, in my mind, and hopefully in his as well, represents a lot of who we are, culturally speaking. I think one of the things that Latin Americans have, and Hispanics in general, is this view of the world, because we grew up in countries that are combatant, and it's a survival mode most of the times. I am so sorry for everybody from Latin America who's listening to this and you're going to go, oh, fuck you. Well, yeah, sorry about it. But I think we grew up in this very convoluted and battling about everything all the time kind of countries, right? So when we are out there somewhere else, what happens is that we take the same view of the world and we go about our lives just fighting for everything and changing and trying to do things differently. Pablo joins me today because he's an example to me of not only very strong and amazing willpower, but also because of how you can reinvent yourself. I'll let him tell the story because he'll tell it a lot better than me. But I have a profound admiration for him as a professional, as a human. And the reason he's here with us today, aside from all of that, is that he had a certain career. Again, he'll tell the story, but he had a certain career. And at some point, one day he was, well, I'm going to do something else. And he joined the IT industry. And with that came a journey of understanding the industry, but also understanding the nuances of getting a job and going through the motions of trying to get a job, and then how you might be 30-something and you're junior, so therefore your mental load and your mental and emotional intelligence is at a certain level, but your expertise is not quite there. So I think there's a pretty interesting conversation, and so it's a double whammy. It's someone with all of that richness in the story, but also someone who shares my culture. And then to me, that's super important. And I'm very, very thankful to have you here. Hi, Pablo.
Thank you. Hey, Diego. First of all, thank you for one of the best compliments I have ever had.
Which one?
Oh, man. Just feeling like you think I represent my culture, like I'm a good representation of Argentina and South American culture, and our willpower and stuff. It's just amazing. It makes me like quite proud.
All true.
And yeah, listening to you, it was quite a journey. I like that introduction. I like that we're sharing Mati as well.
Yeah,
that's what we do when we share conversations and thoughts, and when you tell good news and bad news with your family and friends. So it's quite a strong symbol, I reckon. And what can I say? Like I've been knowing you for a while, and I just gonna give a little hint that you were actually the first person to guide me and ask me, why don't you try IT? And I was like, I don't know.
Because I like driving people mad.
So I'm ready to, jump into the conversation, jump into the story, and share some mates.
Awesome. Gracias. Thank you for being here. Look, why don't you start by telling us, this is going to be interesting. I usually start with tell me about your human doing. I separate, this is not mine. I didn't invent this, obviously. Tell me about your human doing and your human being is the conversation we're going to try to have. But let's start with your human doing. What is it that you used to do, why you chose that, and what made you change, and what do you do today? What's your human doing today, if you don't mind?
I used to, I study aeronautical engineering, and that's mainly based on the fact that my mom was a math teacher, she's retired now. My dad is an accountant, so in my home it was numbers. And I fall in love with that. Fall in love with solving equations was like puzzles to me, and it's always something that was definitely very deep within me. So by the time I had to choose what career to pursue, just grab a book of careers when I was 17 years old. Went straight to engineering because everyone told me that's a lot of maths and physics. And the first one was aeronautical engineering. I read about it and it made me extremely curious. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about airplanes or rockets or satellites. I grew up on a very small town with a tiny airport, so I had barely seen an airplane before in my life. So it's quite a decision of the moment, and I'm quite thankful for that. So my human there was actually just looking for maths and physics and, the decode nature with numbers, basically. Mm-hmm. And then after some time, obviously, we're going to go through that as well. And some point of my life, I wasn't doing something that I was enjoying. Waiting for papers and, residency and all this the immigrants go through when you migrate to another country. And it come one time in my life when I was like, okay, I can make a decision, actually just pursue something that I'm more passionate, that something that I want to choose to do. And that's why you suggested wanting to try IT. And that was the first time that idea popped into my mind. And it was like, okay, can I, should I?
Yeah.
And I did. And what my human is doing today, it's working much more with my brain. I love solving problems the way we do today. And I have always been passionate about building stuff. So it was quite an easy switch for me to actually go somewhere else. Just like I said, because I didn't choose aeronautical engineering because I was passionate about planes. So I didn't feel, so I didn't miss it when I got away from that.
Right. Do you think that having that engineering mind and engineering academic preparation made it easier for you to understand algorithms and all that? Because you're on the software engineering side of things, right?
Yes. And lately more advocated to data and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure. I would say for everything in life, to be honest. Engineering is grabbing a problem, making it easy to understand and solving it. So it's something you can use for everything in your life. And I think it's super, super valuable, even if I never worked as an aeronautical engineer and I'm not regret it at all. I'm super happy to chosen that career. Right. And I think it's really helped me a lot. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And so aeronautical engineer, you were living in Argentina and one day you woke up and said, New Zealand. So walk me through how did that happen?
I was very close to finishing my thesis in Argentina. I was getting married on December. I wanted to travel the world with my wife. We tried going to Costa Rica. We all always loved nature and animals and outdoors. We gave it a shot with Costa Rica. It didn't work, and then we're back in Argentina. Planning. Okay, where do we go next? What can we do? And it just happened to bump into the working holiday visas of the world.
Right.
Quite popular back then. And we started analyzing.
What year was this?
This was 2016.
16, okay.
So 10 years ago, literally.
Yeah.
And one of the options was Australia, New Zealand, one of the two. Due to our academic records and our experience and so on, New Zealand seemed like the easiest choice in a sense. And as soon as we start researching, it has nature, it has and everyone that you talk to about New Zealand, even if they're living here or they have left, they always have a fond, good memory of New Zealand, which is always something good. So we started researching. We applied for the visas. My wife got it. I didn't. So we waited a whole year.
I didn't know this part of the story. Okay.
Yeah, so she got it. I didn't because working holiday visas are individual. You cannot apply, as a partner.
Right. Yep.
So she got it, but you have 1 year to actually get into the country. So what we did is basically save a lot of money. Didn't spend a single penny, dollar, peso on anything for a year.
Yeah.
And the next year we came here, and I tried, and I got it from here, which was amazing. Quite a huge step. And also, as soon as we enter New Zealand, and you start meeting the people and the culture. And for us, speaking in English, an English-speaking country for the first time, it was amazing, like a super cool experience to be here. We didn't know how much time we were going to spend
here. So you're telling me that you got here and you didn't speak the language? Not at all, a little bit.
I did speak the language. But I haven't, been, like I never traveled to a country that was like an English-speaking country.
So it wasn't
before.
A day-to-day thing. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. I just spoke... I learned it as a kid a little bit. I watched a lot of series,
and that's how I learned it.
Exactly. Like probably like how most of us did.
But, Thank you, Friends and Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah, amazing. Yeah, Sonny and Fox and all those series. I mean, but one thing is, I know it. I can read. I can watch a series that has subtitles on it. And another thing is having an actual conversation with someone with a New Zealand accent as well. Because we're so used to American accents when we learn English. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm laughing inside of me right now, because it's like I remember the first couple of months here, I would come out of meetings, and hopefully a person will identify with this comment, because I had a manager back then, and he was incredibly supportive when I got here. But I remember I would come out of meetings, and I would tell him, mate, can you just, there's 50% of that I have no idea what was said. And I thought, like, I had been working in call centers and service desks and shit like that in English only for a couple of years. So I was okay-ish. And he'd be like, well, we talked about this and then, and I'd be like, at what point did they say the word infrastructure? Because I have no idea. So did you have a similar experience?
Absolutely.
And how did you manage that? Did that create any type of anxiety like it did for me?
Absolutely, yeah. Like since the first time you step in here, it's anxiety for everything, for going to the bank and doing anything to, work and interviews and so on. I have always, and I still to this day, on a digital era, take my paper and my pen.
Right.
And I just, when I get lost in the conversation, I just grab the first word that I can hear.
Right.
And then after that, I would normally talk to my boss and say, like, they said
what
something about this. What was that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to ask, which is something I think good in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens up to this day. Like my phone rings and I'm like, okay, here we go again. Okay. So 100%. I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, mate, I have people calling me from Argentina and I don't understand what they're saying. It's like, that's nothing new. Okay, so fast forward, you had a job here.
Yeah.
Not doing what you studied for.
Exactly.
Really. So you'll tell me about that a little bit. And then you got up to that point where you were like, hey, asking people around. You didn't ask just me.
No.
Please tell me that you talked to other people. That's a lot of weight on my mind otherwise. You talked to a lot of people and you're like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. So tell me first, what were you doing when all this thing was brewing inside you?
Yeah, so when I arrived to New Zealand, I got my degree back in Argentina, and aeronautical engineering, it's not a huge industry literally anywhere in the world, to be honest. So I didn't got a job doing that back in Argentina. That year that we spent just saving, I worked as a substitute teacher in high school. Pretty cool stuff to do, actually.
Yeah.
And then I got a job in a construction company. So I obviously learned a lot there because I was working with concrete, obviously something that you don't use for airplanes.
Hopefully.
So when I got to New Zealand, it was like a matter of decisions, like, do I try to pursue a career in aeronautical engineering or do I also try the construction side, which I had some experience on?
Right.
And almost immediately, New Zealand construction industry, you can say a lot of good and bad things about it, but it's super welcoming.
Yeah.
If you want to work, you'll find work in all the different layers that they have.
Right.
And it took me literally 2 weeks, which is like an immense record. I wasn't expecting that.
Unheard of. Yeah.
So I worked in a laboratory doing testing and later on like research and designing asphalt mixes for roads and stuff.
Yeah.
So something that I found like entertaining while it lasted, but it was a job that I was hoping to stay for a couple of years until like I move up, I get my papers and move on. And due to COVID, it extended to 4.5 years.
Right.
And I think that it was hard mentally to feel like you are stuck in a job. And I think that warns you out a little bit. And it took some of the joy of like, oh, I'm here only because I cannot choose to do anything else. And I feel like if that wouldn't happen, I may have pursue a career in construction and like work as a construction engineer and move up and so on. But at some point, it just made me think, okay, do I really like this? Because I actually didn't choose to. Like, I feel like I fall into this industry. And that's where like I started like, getting questions, and you proposed that, or actually asked me that. And then I realized I have plenty of friends. Like there's plenty of Argentinians, particularly they worked in the IT industry in all sorts, like front ends, back ends. And in all sorts of positions. So I started basically asking all of them,
right?
Like, what do you think? What do you reckon? And this was 2021. So, the big spike of everyone jumping into
post-COVID.
Post-COVID, working from home, all these platforms exploding and hiring heaps of people. So in some point, it's like, oh, this is actually a good thing. And everyone was saying your engineering degrees and the way that, your mind, it's built, it could be good. So what I did was basically just give it a shot, download a couple of courses like Python, HTML, any like super basic stuff that you do normally, probably for everyone. Because the only thing that I would need to try, or basically I needed to prove to myself, is, do I like this? Or am I just jumping to a very well-paid industry with perks, but I'm going to hate my job for the rest of my life. So basically,
am I making the same mistake? Is part of the question.
Like
actually, no mistake, but am I making the same decision of doing something in anger? Yeah.
Exactly. And I liked it. So I liked it. I just did it for a while on my own until I get my papers and everything. And one of the persons that I talked to, it's called Santiago. It's a super cool dude. He has been working in the IT industry for a lot. Guiñazú, exactly. So a recruiter.
Shout out, great guy.
Absolutely. Cheers to him. He's a recruiter, actually. He's always on the HR side of it, but knows a lot. So he walked me through all the industry. We had like a 3-hour conversation, and he suggested maybe like going for a bootcamp, mainly because they offer structure. For me, like an outsider, to get into this new industry. And that's what I did to actually start, making my way into it.
I wanna touch back a little bit on you said that while you were doing the other job, right, pre-COVID or during COVID, I think you said, there was a time that you started feeling the mental load of being stuck in something, or feeling, maybe not being, but feeling stuck into something. And stagnant is maybe part of the word, where you go, well, I don't really know if this is what I want. So was that I realized one day, was that I'm feeling it in my body? Am I getting this or that? Or did you get any signs of that mental load? Because that's part of what we do here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super keen to talk about it as well. I think that was mainly the early months, like the first half or the first 8 months of 2021 was probably like the hardest. And I think like my situation was, I was working for this company under this visa. I have applied to residence, and until I get it, I cannot resign or change my role.
Yep. So changing conditions or something.
Exactly. So I'm actually legally stuck at my job.
Yeah.
And mentally stuck as well. And I think at that point, you didn't feel like the resident was coming. You like, when you make a step forward and you see like it goes away and it goes away.
Yes.
So I felt like all this like 8 or 10 months, I was like, pretending and how do you say it?
Español.
Fingiendo demencia.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I don't know how to translate it, but like
you figure it out, people. No, it's just like pretending that everything's okay when it actually isn't. We have this thing that we say in particularly in Argentina. I don't think it's anywhere else in Latin America. The fingiendo demencia, which is pretending. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like I felt like that's the way I was living. Like pretending that nothing's happening. I was just focusing on my job. Monday to Friday, I'll do it, and someday the residents will come, and that will solve all my problems. So basically, digging it and keeping it there. So I don't think I suffered too much while I was there, although I was. And I think as soon as the papers appear and there's decisions that I made come to there, that's when I realized, I was like deep.
Right.
On a bad place, just feeling depressed but just pretending I wasn't. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just like, what happened.
Bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, like...
No, I don't know. Yeah.
But I feel like at some point, it's hard when you pretend also because you don't allow other people to actually come and ask you, like, how are you really feeling about like being stuck on a job?
Okay.
And I feel like I always try to take care of people. And, like, I don't need to say anything because then, they'll have to take care of me.
The very old, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to give you a minute to breathe. The very old, if I come and tell you my problems, I'm going to be a burden. And it feels like I'm a burden all the time, even to myself and so on. So I full on understand that. Yeah,
probably like textbook.
Yeah,
stuff, I reckon.
I honestly don't know. That's what I went through, and I always say the same thing. So I'll repeat myself: not academically prepared or not academically known, or know anything about psychology really more than what I've read and a couple of accreditations that I did. But from experience, that feeling where you go, dude, if I come and tell you my problems, you seem fine. If I come and talk to you, you're not going to be fine. So let's just pretend nothing's happening.
Yeah. And I think it's also like if I say what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, it becomes real.
Oh.
And that is another thing.
Damn, guy, can you make an explosion noise when that happens? Oh,
because I think like it wasn't all like only that I was stuck on a job that I wasn't enjoying less and less. It was the fact that because of my visa status, I could not get back to Argentina. And at this point, it had been 3 years since I left. I had nephews that I don't know. I have friends with kids that I don't know. My parents are 70 years old. There's a lot of things that go to your mind, not only the job part. And I think that was the reason why, like, I was trying to pretend. Like, if I pretend, if I don't, raise my voice and anything, everything will stay still.
Don't verbalize
and one day I get the papers and I can go out to it. Yeah. That's
Did you feel? Oh, that's so interesting. Did you feel that there was a part of you who would see it as failure if you had to go back? And before you answer, I'm going to tell you why I say this. I remember when we were leaving Argentina, like the week before, I was talking to my parents and somebody, I can't remember who else, and I was saying, look, I'm going to give myself 4 years. And if I come back, it's not a failure. If I come back, it's because I choose to come back. And I remember going through that thinking process of, at some point, just like you, I was incredibly lucky who I never felt this thing that you're describing, really, not doing something that I really, really didn't like. So I was kind of lucky with the jobs that I had. I was driving one day, and I stopped at Remuera and Upland Road, close home, and I just stopped at the lights, and I looked at the names of the streets and the people and the places and everything, and I was like, "What the fuck am I doing here?
How do I get here?
Mate, why? Look, I get goosebumps. Why? I can't go to my house and see my brother, and I can't see my mom, and I can see my dad, and I miss them, or not, but I just can't." And I remember it was a bit of like an epiphany. It happened a couple of times, right? Where I would go dissociating. I think the word that comes to mind is dissociating, and I'll be like, who are you? What's happening here? And it happened to me a couple of times. And part of that was just fingir demencia, where you go, nope, nothing to see here, people, move on. So it's very interesting that you say that. So did you feel any of that?
I think like I didn't feel that as a failure. What I think it was a failure was actually like not talking more about it. Probably the only other person that knew it was my wife, because we do share everything, and we were like on the same mindset basically. So it was like not us against the world. So that was the only thing that it felt like a failure. And then of course I have that all the time, and I think it still happens. And the crazy thing, I believe, is that it depends on your mindset, like which road your mind takes. Like if you're in a bad place, you're not happy or like depressed or anything, you get that epiphany and you're like, what the fuck, what's going on,
what am I doing here?
And if you're in a good place on your mind, you're happy and you're like, oh, look where I am.
Absolutely. 100%.
So it's the same situation, but it's fully on where are you on your mindset. They will trigger one way or the other.
And I'm sure, I'm not going to do the old tell me in the comments. But I'm sure that there are, but do tell me in the comments. I'm sure there are psychologists and or life coaches that follow us that have made comments like this before, where they go, that's part of your, that's what you need to work on pretty much on a daily basis, where you go, your mindset dictates where you go and what step you take next. So I think that's super important. I'm not going to challenge you because it's your personal experience, but I'm not entirely sure it's a failure to not talk about it. I think it's more of a life. It's what it is. I spent like 2 years very, very deep in depression world without talking to the closest people around me. So yeah. So you get to that, you go, fuck this shit. I want to do something else. You talk to people. You said that you were in a bad place. Is that the word you use?
Yeah.
You were in a bad place, and you were like, I wanna change course and direction. That's a part of strong will and willpower that I think is just fucking amazing, and I really commend you for it. I think it's really hard to recognize that you're like that, but also to take action. On a previous episode, I think it was 2 episodes back, I talked to Sachin Jain, who is very big on you have a choice. And even when you decide to, we literally had this conversation, even when you decide to punch someone in the face knowing that is wrong, and you see red and supposedly your brain is on fight and flight and whatever, you still have a choice. How did you get to that choice?
The starting point is always like not feeling in the right place. Like definitely is a trigger to like go in your mind and ask questions. And I have always been quite an introvert. And every time I'm not speaking, I'm thinking, even when someone is speaking sometimes. So I apologize for that. You might see me on, gatherings, and if it's 20 people, and at some point I'm like, lost in thought. So I'm all the time actually thinking about my choices and stuff. So I think with that trigger, like, okay, I don't feel that I'm on the right place. So that's a starting point. Where do I go next? And definitely I do, even though I think it obviously requires willpower and, a conscious decision of going in that direction. There's the other part, which is luck, which normally we don't account that as much. And I think for me, it's a third thing, which is support, because there's much harder to do things on your own. And I do have Julia, that's my wife, and she's like fundamental in this whole change. Like I literally, it's one of the pillars that I always stand on top of to actually make decisions. So I think with those three things, I'm not gonna say that it made it easy, but I think it made it clear where to go, and it made it clear when I was making the right decision. And as soon as I remember like started the bootcamp and I started like, doing my first things like coding and stuff, I saw myself that I was happy and I was like, I think I made the good decision, and just reminded that every day it was, I think that's the like compass. That's the compass is like aiming on the right direction. I reckon. I think it's all about how I feel, basically. Yeah.
Right. So you made the decision. You started the bootcamp, or you did self-taught first. Like you did some self-learning.
While I was still working at my previous job, I will jump online, do courses, and still talking to my friends. I was like, what should I do? So I started like HTML, the basic web HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff. So I was basically doing that. And when I resigned knowing that literally ended up on a Friday. Next Monday, it's the bootcamp. So no rest whatsoever. And straight into that structure of like web development.
Did you walk into that bootcamp with, walk me through the emotions. What were the emotions that you had when you walked in? Because I would think that one of them was fear, I would assume.
Not much.
Really? Awesome. That's I would have been scared shitless, but that's who I am.
I think like probably the scary part would have been by the time I presented my resignation. Probably that's would have been like, okay, it's scary to actually make the jump. Once it was Monday and I was there, it was just excitement, like full excitement. I was like, ready to jump into anything, and like crazy happy and excitement. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I do remember you were very excited about it, and then you were excited and tired. I remember you were very tired because it was very intensive as well.
It was very intense. Yeah.
So you finish it, and for what I've seen and for what I've known you, the harshest bit seemed to be once you finished that and you started going, okay, so now it's time to get a job. And the promise of, and I talk about this quite often, the promise of IT in general and technology in general is you'll always have a job. And part of the narrative around you have it easier than other industries. So what's with mental health? Why do you have to talk about mental health? If you go to anywhere in the world and the world is becoming digital, so you will have a job. So that promise falls flat very quickly when you go, well, now I have to find a job. Yeah. So tell me a little bit or a lot of it, how was that for you, finding yourself, not only having to find a job, but finding a job in an industry that you didn't know as well as other industries?
Absolutely. And it's not only that, it's quite different in a lot of senses, because before IT, every interview that I went to, I got the job. Literally for everything else.
You were spoiled, my friend.
Yeah, but I have to say that not that it's a common thing, but I definitely felt it's quite different to IT. And I think part of it is what you describe as this oasis of, very well paid and, get all the
seen from outside, you mean?
Yeah, seen from outside. It's like, oh, this guy, so you just go to an office, probably just 6 hours and get coffees there and like get ping pong tables and all this.
You guys get coffee?
Yeah. And this whole idea of what it represents, but then no one talks about like, okay, how do you get a job? Like, how do you get in this club of the IT world? And for me, when I was finishing the bootcamp, I was lucky enough that this friend of mine, Santiago, had some money that he was actually trying to put on his web to develop. So I basically, as soon as I finished that, I jumped into this small project
for him. Right. Yep.
So getting paid just enough. I honestly didn't care too much about the payment. All I need, like everyone would say, is just the experience. Like, you know, building your experience. So I was lucky enough to do that for a couple of months. But then after that, it's just, you could just call it an internship, right?
Right.
That it's quite common after boot camps. Normally, one of the things they promise, or one of the things of why you would choose one place or the other is like, okay, where are you gonna locate me after we finish this?
Right.
That is a huge thing.
A promise of placement.
Exactly. Normally, that promise of placement is an internship, so it could be like 3 months, with the hope that someone will see your potential and hire you, which is not guaranteed, obviously.
But it's fair enough, right? So you, I mean, as long as they don't exploit you and make you work 23 hours a day,
absolutely.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. HR people.
And I would say, like, even if I would have got that, I would work 20 hours, like, because, you know. But I think we come back to what we discussed previously, like, for someone that is changing to another career, like, you know that you're in 100% for everything because you want to make it. So I don't know if that would be the case if you actually went to like a computer science degree and you did all the thing. Like, you probably might expect, okay, I got all this knowledge, I am valuable, I am new, but I think it's probably and I don't know, maybe not, but I think it might be a different feeling to someone that, like, I didn't study this.
Do you know any other people who might have, I don't know, like a PhD in data science, and they just not only not finding a job, but also when they do, it's just like an internship? Do you have any firsthand knowing people of that?
Not much, to be honest. I think like most of the people that I talked to on this process of looking for a job was actually immigrants. So I think that was the challenge for them. Like, they normally had good experience. Like, I met people with 2, 5, 10, 15 years of experience. And the challenge for them was like, I'm new in this country, sometimes new in this language.
Right.
New in terms of the type of work that I can do due to visas and permits. So I think that's the challenge that I come across more. So I've always been on the events that I went, and I was normally quite an exception to that, because I had all the papers, I had all those, those things were there. For me, it was more about, how do I prove that I can do the work without actually having all the background of knowing all the infrastructure and the environment of it.
So let's talk about that. You get to that point, you start doing interviews. What was the feeling? What was the...
It felt that this is why I mentioned the other interviews and how different they are. It felt for the first time that I was going to an exam at uni. Like, I was going to a place to be tested. And that is something that I never felt on any of the other interviews, even though you technically are being tested, like, can this guy do the job? And they'll ask questions about it. But I felt like on IT particularly, it's like, okay, how much do you know? Can you solve this? How can you do this? How can you do that? So I encounter this feeling that at least the first couple of interviews, like, okay, I have to like actually prepare and study for an interview. It's not just about who I am and what can I give and where do I come from. It's like, I have to give an exam and prove to these people. So that was super challenging because I didn't sit down and study. And one thing is like sit down and study, solve things on your own place, and very different when someone is looking through a camera or like right in front of you. So super, super challenging, super, super like nervous all the time, obviously, super insecure. And I would get out of interviews and I will look for the questions and I was like, oh, I knew that, you know? And frustration, a lot of it. And it's a whole process of understanding what they want and how to answer that, and understanding that the interview is not the job. Like, I'm pretty sure that most of the people that send a CV to a job can do the job. If they get it, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do the job. How they adjust to the company, to the team, that's a different thing. But the job, it's not that hard. It can be, and obviously if you get like a seniorship and more into heavier problems, it can be. But for the task that you as a junior are going to be doing, pretty much, I reckon, a lot of people can do much more than the people that actually get the job. But the thing is, how do I prove that?
Exactly,
and understanding the structure of these interviews was quite challenging at the beginning, and understanding I had to sit down and solve algorithms. Even though I may not never use recursion in my life, I need to know what it is. Right. I need to be able to solve an issue.
Yeah.
So having that process, it took a while.
Do you think, like, I hear you, I have so many thoughts, because I hear you talking and I go, maybe that's what they're supposed to do. Maybe not. Maybe they're testing for things that are not relevant. But at the same time, I go, this is the same as, why do I need to know how to solve? Please help me, either of you, with any complex mathematical thing that we learn in high school that we never fucking use in our lives.
Yeah, trigonometry.
Yeah, for example. But then you go, it is the plasticity in your brain while you're learning, first of all, but also while you're answering the question that maybe the other person is looking for. So I don't really know. I never understood. I don't interview like that anyways, when I do. So it's interesting to me how different can be, though we're in the same industry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if I was interviewing a solutions architect, for example, I would go, yeah, let's just talk about an infrastructure solution. Can you whiteboard a solution as if I was a customer? But for you, it's
I think
way different from that.
I think there's a huge difference when you are interviewing for a senior role or a junior role. I think those are like two different things. Like, I think for seniors and people that have experience, they know what they're doing. You can have a conversation and pretty much you'll be able to tell if they can do the job. And if you have that feeling.
Yeah, and in pre-sales, I'm looking for approachability, and then are you articulate, and then all of that, and are you not an asshole is what I'm looking for usually. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for juniors, then there's two things, right? Like the human part and the other part, the technical part. And the technical part is super, super difficult to explore. So even though it seems like I'm complaining about the interview process, I don't know if there's a better one.
Oh, I think you're describing it. I don't think you're complaining about it. I think you're describing it. Yeah.
So it's still, tricky to find that balance. And like I said, I don't know if there's a better one. It is what it is, and it's basically.
Look, the reason it feels like I'm grilling you with this, but the reason I'm bringing you to this is because, and we can cut it and edit it if you don't like it. But the reason I'm bringing the conversation to this is because what happened after that was that adaptation process that you had to go through maybe put you in this position of, I'm doubting myself. I don't know if I can I do this? And then into this wave of trying to ride this wave of, I can't find a job, but I know I can do it, and someone please give me the opportunity. So, and that's when I saw the harsh bit, and I saw you, before we started the interview, I said to Pablo, I don't remember seeing you stressed ever, which I stand by it, but I did see you down. I did see you down, despite the fact you people should know this fella. He is one of the most approachable, lovable, and charismatic people that I know. So when you see someone out of character like that, you start going,
it's weird.
What up? I don't know if it's weird. I remember feeling, dude, you're so much better than this. Why are you not believing in yourself?
I think we'll go through that. I think it's part of the process. Like I think literally describing is impostor syndrome.
Oh, 100%.
And it's something that even because after getting a job and after working for a while, I ask people and they say like, yes, that probably never goes away. Like at some point you're gonna have 10 years in experience and you're gonna find an issue and like, what? How, getting to that point. I think it's very, very common with juniors to actually be there. And I think it's even more common with people that comes from outside the industry.
Right.
So I definitely went through that. Like even I had my good interviews and bad interviews. But every time you get the email of unfortunately, that comes back. And it's just this battle that you describe of like not listening to that feeling, like, nah, shut up, like I can do it. And then one other day is like crying, it's like, oh, when I'm going to land this job. And all this whole process. But I think it has to do with that, like, doubting yourself and then telling yourself. And this is where I say like support comes handy, because when you're down, sometimes you don't have the strength to say to yourself, nah, like, shut up, I can do this. Sometimes you need someone else to do that. And that's where, my wife came in and said, like, I can see you. I see you every day, like waking up, putting the hours, putting the effort, studying, applying, like doing the whole process. Just be patient. Like, I'm here. I got you. And sometimes having that is like what you need in some places. And I think that's fundamental to have. And one of the reasons why I think I am so lucky, even not having like, financial costs of actually being unemployed for a while. Because for this first search that we talked so much, it took 12 months.
Yeah, I remember.
For me.
Yeah.
And I started working in something else on month number 10, because I was like, okay, I need a side gig, because the account is like slowly draining, and having that extra pressure. But having support and someone that is there for you, it's like a game changer. So for me, it was my wife. For what I see in other people, like maybe like kids that just get the degrees, having the families, standing up for them and not putting some pressure on like, oh, you have to become this, you have to follow this career, you have to. So support is fundamental to combat this ups and downs of imposter syndrome, and saying like, okay, convincing you that, okay, yeah, you're doing good.
As you, it's funny because before you said it, before you got to that's why I keep talking about support, I was thinking about, towards the end of those 12 months, I was talking to Juli, and I can't remember, I think you were at an event, and that's why I was talking to her, and I said, hey, how's Pablo? How you, we was checking in basically. And she was like, oh, he got another, sorry to inform you kind of letter. So he's there, but I've been saying to him that I've seen him and I've seen him doing the job and and that I'm here for him. And I remember thinking, I reckon that we choose different anchors in different moments of our lives. Like you said before, family before, your wife, whatever else, your kids later down in life. But I remember seeing you guys so strong together and going, no, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to do this. We're doing this. And I remember thinking that's just awesome, because not only you had and you have the willpower and the ability to go through all these changes and just sort of, creating this cocoon that it took 12 months for you to break. But also having someone going, you got this, bro.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty awesome. So, which takes me to, I usually ask people who I interview, what are the things that you use to ground yourself? And what are the things that when you find yourself in those dark moments, what are the things where you go, but this? What is that this?
Julia, for sure. And she knows that, I think the relationship that we have, it's like coming back home for me is that feeling. As soon as I step home and I'm with her, that's when I get that feeling of like, I can release all the tension and all this burden, and I will talk about it, we will talk about it, and we'll help each other. And it's the same feeling, obviously, it's probably like a very Argentinian thing, like with friends and family as well. Like, meeting with friends on a Friday and say like, hey, how was your week? Like, how was this week? And you be able to tell them, and they'll like encourage you as well. So that having that kind of support and that environment, like healthy environment, it's fundamental. For me, sports as well.
Love that. Yeah.
Sports, like actually being able to play football, run, get tired, enjoy the free time and not being worried on my free time. I think it's fundamental, and it's something that it becomes harder and harder as soon as, the months go by. At the beginning, you're like, okay, I put my 8 hours of looking for a job. The rest, it's my day. And in some point, after months and months, you're like, should I be, getting
Maybe
free
9
time?
hours?
Yeah, maybe like 9,
Yeah.
maybe 10. Like,
Yeah.
should I? And even if you say, okay, now I'm done for the day, I might be driving somewhere, still thinking about the email, thinking about like the stuff that I should do tomorrow. So that starts to,
Eat away.
Yeah, eat away. And having friends, they will like take you out of there. It's for me that is the nice place. Yeah.
Talk to me about that mental process where you month 10 and you were like, fuck, this is really bad, and do I even deserve free time? That goes through your mind and you can't stop thinking about it, and it's just like the basis of anxiety. And then how was that for you?
It was hard. I think that I think we talk about like all the feelings. It's quite universal, I reckon. That feeling down, or like feeling not enough, or like saying like, oh, when is this gonna happen? Like, is this gonna happen? And I think like trusting the process and knowing that what you're doing is what you should be doing. I think it's something good. What I did basically was I described this as, those circus kind of thing where they put a plate on a stick.
Jugglers,
like jugglers,
Chinese jugglers.
And they put 1, but they put 2 and 3 and 4. At some point, they have like 20 of those. Yeah. And when one is slowing down, it's like they go there and they...
Yeah.
That's how my life felt at that point. And I think understanding that, okay, I cannot do everything at the same time. So I need to like choose my battles. I'm going to do this today. I'll leave this for tomorrow, and start organizing myself that way. Because in some point, on month 10, you are like, I need to like keep updating my CV, like version 32 of my CV, like writing the cover letter, going into LinkedIn every day, posting stuff so people can see that what I'm doing, going to Seek and all this pages to apply, but also going to events and networking, but following up with people. Because actually, if you just go there and get someone contacts, that's nothing. You have to build a relationship for them to think about you when there's a job. And, keep getting, studying, like courses, keep doing stuff, like working on a real project that gives you challenges so you keep learning. And all these things I want, it's a lot. While at the same time, I'm thinking I also need to get a job, like at least the pace, like some hours. And in some point, like having a nice organization, it would be a lot in my mind, everything that I had to do. But at the same time, getting to the end of the day saying like, I did this, I did this. I can't do more than that.
Circle of control, right?
Exactly.
What are the things that you can control?
Exactly. Just making a list and ticking all the boxes day by day was the thing that for me, which I'm like a very task-oriented person, like actually getting the list and saying like tick, tick, tick.
Yeah. Dopamine hit.
Exactly. Yeah, that tick is like, yes, now the next one, and those kind of things. And for me, literally, I think the thing or the action that actually made me land the job was actually building relationships. Normally, there's a lot of people in New Zealand that talk about networking, and there's something called the flat white effect. Comes from a girl named Pablo. She's an Argentinian that hosts many events in Auckland.
Okay.
And she says that every New Zealander is like, 2 degrees of separation from anyone. And if you ask someone for a coffee, they'll have a coffee for you and they have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So the power of the flat white is basically, you want to connect with someone, invite them to a coffee. And I did that heaps. But then I realized it's just like a surface level, And then I talked to another person that I want to mention as well, which is Lucas Grossi, which is another HR recruiter for IT, and has been working ages here in New Zealand with startups. And what he says, okay, you need to like take the step a step further from that. Like, it's good to go there and meet people and see, because I met from juniors to CTOs of startups and companies just because I asked, which is crazy for me. And I would ask, what do you look for in juniors, and like all those questions that I have to actually learn. And what Lucas said was, that's fine. That's good information. But what you need to do is go like one step further and actually create a relationship with those people.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time you make a post about something that might be related with the company, what they do, just tag them and say, hey, what do you think? At some point, I did a video presentation of like talking about myself, sort of like a CV, like digital CV.
Right.
And I just send it to all my contacts on LinkedIn. So those kind of things, they actually build this relationship and then when someone actually has an opening, they will think about you.
Yeah.
And you're not just one more number.
Yeah.
That was what got me my first job. That was what got me the job that I am now. Like I met this person 2 years ago, going to the company, dropping my CV. The guy was impressed that I was just popping
Old
up.
School, yeah, 100%, yeah.
I knew who he was because of the website. He gave me a call, had an interview. For some reason, I didn't get the job. 2 years later, he sends me an email saying like, hey, I got this possible opening in the future. Are you interested? And that is because I didn't lose touch. Like I kept sending him messages. I kept in touch with him because he's a good guy, but also because it's part of going that step further and actually creating a relationship.
100%. And in episode 2, Dan Walker talk about connection. And as you know, you've been here long enough to know that particularly the Maori culture, it's all about manakitanga, which is the connection and the welcomeness and this thing, you know, we are who we are because of people. So I don't think that there's any hidden subtext around you may not know what you're doing, but if you know this and that, you'll get a job. I think it's more around irrespectively of how prepared you are, if you stay at home and you hide behind I fear of going out and I fear of going to this and that event, or to have a coffee with someone, it's just a lot harder. It may happen, but it seems like the message that you're conveying is it's a lot harder when you don't believe in that it's people, which is the mantra of one of the Wayatas.
And let me interrupt right there, but
no,
I just said like, I went to companies and I had coffees, like it was easy. But going to an event and talking to people is terrifying.
Yes.
And going to have a coffee with someone, I will like be sweating 5 minutes before getting in. Like going to a company and drop my CV, I will research the company, get my CV ready and everything. I will drive there and I will just stay on my car for like 20 minutes, you know, talking to myself, saying like, this is normal people. Like this is not, you know, this is not a big mountain that I have to go. Most of them are not ready. So I have like the surprise effect, like all this talk trying to convince me. So I said it in a way that it sounded easy. It's the opposite, the total opposite. But you have to go through it. And the more you do it, the slightly easier it becomes.
And there will be people with social anxiety. I am terrified of events. I have this mild social anxiety compared to other people. But just like going to those events, I've walked away pretending to be on a phone call more than once where I go, someone's calling me, only so I can walk away, because it's like in my mind of minds, I can feel people looking at me, judging me. It's not true. None of you ever judge me, I think. And if you did, it's your problem, not mine. But,
absolutely.
It's that feeling of, what are they going to say? They don't know me. What right do I have to come and talk to them, whoever them are, whoever they are? But I agree with you. It's just like that power of that connection. Yeah.
And I think it's a nice balance, just to come back to New Zealand and connection and that phrase, that quote that you mentioned. I always think about this other quote. It's from a Uruguayan writer, Galeano.
Okay, yes.
And I'm going to translate it to English. But basically one of them kind of like mantras that I live by, which is, we are what we do to change who we are.
Love it.
So basically, we are something, but it's more important where we want to be or who we want to be or what are we working on ourselves more than who we are now. So it's more about like thinking about the trip to become this person that we want to be, more than where we are now. Because I think as soon as you think that you're defined by what you are today, you're like limiting yourself and you're like boxing yourself to whatever life you're living and the decisions that you're making. So for me, that along with connection with other people, it's
yeah.
So
I usually ask a couple of questions that, given the conversation that we've had, I don't care about them anymore necessarily. One of them is, if you had to, or if you could define your relationship with work with a metaphor, what would that be?
My relationship with work, I would say, I thought about like an object, actually. I'll say a hammer. A hammer can be a tool, and a hammer is something that you use to build whatever that is in your mind, put that into real things. And I think my relationship with work is similar to that, in a way that I think work is a tool for me to become a better person, but also a way that I have to actually live my life outside of work. So I think a hammer is just a tool that you use, and towards the end of the day, that tool will be generating something good for society. Hopefully, you're going to build something.
I love that.
But it's no more than a tool and a part of your life.
You are now this, I don't want to call you a tool, no. So you're working at a company. It's okay if you don't want to say who they are. You said that you're working with data more than anything else. How is that going?
Super happy.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Absolutely. I think that as soon as I got the first job that I got, I was super happy, and I knew I was making the right decision, and I really enjoy it. I had the luck to actually land on a small startup with a great team, and with a boss that was like encouraging me to do a lot, which is always super nice, and try stuff. Then on this new job, it's like a very similar situation. And the fact that I got contacted because I mainly did product, like through the bootcamp, the first internship, and this first job is all product related. Then I got this offer to actually move into data, and it's something that was actually on my mind on those first questions that I did to my friends and everything. One of my internal questions was like web development or like data science. Like, you as an outsider, you don't understand exactly what anything means because you are an outsider. So you wonder like, what is going to fit my personality and my way of working better? You don't know it. All you have to do is just jump and see. And I feel like I enjoy a lot that. And lately I've been working for this company mainly with data, and I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy it very much, to a point that my boss constantly asks me like, do you want to go back to product? Do you want to like do something with the product as well? He's always trying to see, like, keep me entertained and happy, which is amazing. And I'm super thankful for him. And I'm just keep telling, like, I'm really enjoying doing data. And even like, I think more than product in a sense. So for me, this journey is like, okay, today it's data. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to try to do it and learn as much as I can. But also knowing and giving the possibility, like, I have no idea what the future is going to be about. I think like I stopped planning for the future after COVID. So today is data. And for me is that question of like, do I enjoy it? Yes. Okay, let's keep going. And that's it.
If you could whisper in the whole of the industry's ear before they start their day tomorrow morning, what would that whisper be? But in your case, because I want to push you, I would ask it the same way, but also if you could say, what would you say to someone who's changing careers? What would you say to someone who is waking up tomorrow feeling stuck? And what would you say, I know it's a lot, and what would you say to someone who is an immigrant or who is thinking about migrating from the country? So do you have a view of, you would say, oh, if I could go back in time and say to myself this thing, what would that be?
I think, especially for someone that is changing careers or someone that is migrating, which is basically changing your life. I think, like, change, it's for the brave only. And I think that is something that I would try to express in some kind of cheesy quote, but hopefully something meaningful. But you going through this process, you are fucking brave.
Yeah.
And just keep going.
Nice. And that would be for, well, that applies to everything, to all the 3 questions, actually.
Yeah, you could. I would also, like, for a different kind of public maybe, but also I think it's something important for someone that is waking up, working on every role, on every company of IT. Like, I would definitely ask them, if I could, especially on how things are with the world these days, is like, who are you helping with the work that you're doing? Like, just a question, something that stays there, because I think that it's something what we need. Like, we need to think a little bit less about profit and more about where are we going.
100%. I can't remember if I read this. I talked about this. I don't know. My memory doesn't work anymore. I think more of why you do than what you do.
Exactly.
Right?
The why, it's probably the most important question in all aspects of life, but definitely at work. And
all right. So before I close off, because I want to say a couple of things to close it, is there anything else you would like to say? Anything else you would like people to take away from this?
I would say, if you're thinking about changing careers, if you are struggling finding a job, if you are having doubts, just rely on people, talk to people, send messages on LinkedIn, go to events, focus on talking to 1 or 2 people at tops or event, try to build relationships, because that's what's gonna keep you, on your feet, basically. And try to connect, and you'll get there. And if you don't, it's fine. Like, it's not the end of the world. Focus on your family, your friends, and find happiness in any other way that you can, basically. And also, thank you so much for having me here. It's been awesome. Always super fun to talk to you without cameras. But this is actually fantastic. So I really appreciate it a lot. I love you a lot. So
I love you too. I love you too, buddy. Thank you so much. Well, Tito, thank you so much. It's been an awesome conversation. It's not our usual conversation. It's not what I usually do. I didn't want it to be. I think everything that I said at the beginning, I really mean it. What I feel about you and how I feel about what you've done of yourself and everything. There's another thing that we haven't talked about it, but I've seen photos of this guy when he was, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, give or take. And he was skinny as. And then the thing that we haven't talked about is when he talks about exercise, he does CrossFit and a bunch of other things. And Julie as well. And the transformation in the body is just, it's pretty amazing. And I think it talks about as well this point where you go, I'm going to change this, right?
Discipline,
and it's for a different episode, which we will do in Spanish, hopefully, to talk about immigration and what it is to be an Argentinian here, and we will subtitle it for whoever wants to listen to it who is not Hispanic speaking. So thank you very much. I love you very much. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll do it again.
Thank you. We will.
Thank you. Now, it's hot out there. We don't talk too much about recession and all of that. This is not the job. That's not my job to talk about recession here, at least, or to talk about revenue or to talk about money or anything that comes with that. But day in and day out, I keep seeing people suffering really and going through the mental strain of am I going to have a job tomorrow? Am I going to get a job? I've been looking for 12 months and so on. So I'd say reach out. Like Pablo said, just reach out, have a connection, come and talk to me. I'm always keen to help. And if it's not help, I'll just sit there in silence to let you feel the feelings. But I think it's very important for all of you out there to know that you're not alone and that suffering in silence is something that we should never do, and to normalize these conversations that mental health is not a weakness. It's just another muscle that we need to work and exercise. Love you all. Have a good one.